What is up, Juju Gang? Happy Friday. Hope everyone is doing well. Today, we call it Tesla Power Hour, but it feels like today we can probably call it Tesla Sour Hour. What a ugly week. By the way, I hope my audio is coming in okay. Let me know in the chat if it is. Appreciate everyone in the comments. DRK, Felicia, Geomission, Brett. How's it going, folks? We have a lot to talk about. Okay, so we have Elon's Twitter Spaces to debrief, and in case you've already seen some other person debrief it, I'm going to keep it short, recap it. But there's some specific items I want to highlight in Elon's talk yesterday. Number two, I want to go through some revisions on demand issues and whether or not we should reassess, because the whole thing is let's reassess the market. I kind of have this opinion, and the market's always right, at least in the short term. So if we're missing something, if there's a gap between what we think, we probably have to adjust what our beliefs is, because remember, institutions really own stock price. And for better or for worse, they control it, especially when you talk about mega cap companies. So let's try to go through some of that sort of stuff. By the way, let me know where you guys are coming in from, city, state, country, whatever you guys feel comfortable sharing. We'll get into the stock price. And by the way, last Friday Power Hour, if anyone remembers it, I know last Friday seems like a year ago at this point, I talked about us breaking the 200-week moving average. Who remembers that? And of course, we've dipped down below even the 250-week moving average at this point, and we're pretty much about to kiss the 300-week moving average, which I know is crazy to even talk about 300-week moving average, but that's really the levels that are left for us, albeit we get into the monthly averages after that, which I hope not. But the 300-week moving average, in case you've never heard it before, is sitting at $120-ish. So we'll have a lot to talk about this hour, and maybe I'll open it up to people as well if you want to hop in the chat later on and hop on the call, and we can have a discussion. How's it going, Brooke? Appreciate that. Happy holiday. Yes, happy holidays to everyone. I was going to wear my Christmas sweater today. You guys know my infamous Christmas sweater that lights up. Does anyone remember that from last year? Let me know in the comments if you guys were here last year's stream when I wore that. I fixed it. I spent an hour rewiring that damn Christmas sweater, and I didn't bring it today, unfortunately. But yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to everyone. Okay, Cupertino, thank you, Christian from Germany. No worries, John. I feel ya. Sanju, Happy Friday. There we go. Compton in the house. Jay Lizard, how's it going? Denmark, St. Louis, London, Sweden, Atlanta, Chicago. I love the community that we have here. So worldwide. Is this Kentucky? Owensboro, Kentucky, -6. Oh, Avi just brought me my Christmas sweater. Okay, maybe I'll put it on. Maybe if we close green today. If we get enough people wanting me to put on. Thank you. Cupertino. Yeah, so DJ, we'll talk about this. Yes, so the China rumor is out, and stay tuned for this one because it's a big one, but I don't know if I trust it. Merry Christmas, Mimi, to you as well from Sweden. Happy holidays. Dublin, New York, Montreal, Norway, Leduc. Hey, we got a Edmonton Canucks game tonight. It's not too far away from you, I think. Juju Gang from Germany. How's it going? By the way, if you're watching on replay, let me know where you guys are tuning in from as well. Florida, I'm jealous, Rick. I am jealous. It's currently like -5 or so. This week it's been like -13 degrees, full on snow, maybe like a foot of snow outside. So it's very atypical for Vancouver. Bedford, Indiana. Angus, how's it going? Oh yeah, the lights that didn't work. Yes. Well, don't worry. Actually, no, I'll save it. I'll put it on towards the end of the stream. But I'll tell you what, it works now. Martin, how's it going? Merry Christmas from Sweden. Or Johan. Fresno, Alcampo, Kiwi, New Zealand here. I feel you, Michael. How's it going, Boyle? Hyderabad, India, Montreal, Juju Gang from UK. I appreciate all the positivity in here. Wow, so many places. You guys are awesome. Thank you for throwing that in. I can't even read all of them out. It's like -40. Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to compare my soft self to you guys in Alberta. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's get into the talk. 124 sitting on Tesla. 124.05 sitting on Tesla. At this point, I think it's probably safe to say we probably retest supply on the downside. And this is why we talk about technicals, right, on the channel as well. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I get comments. It's like, yeah, all you do is talk about fundamentals. Who cares? The market's driven by macro. And then when I make macro videos, it's all about what happened to the fundamentals. So it feels like I can't win sometimes. But that's why we've always really talked about both on this channel, right? But let's talk about technicals. The 300-week moving average supply is at 120. At this point, with 55 minutes left to close, who knows what happens? But at this point, it feels like that's a magnet on the downside. Remember, Elon did sell last week. So last week's weakness was somewhat explained because of Elon selling. This week, though, I have a spreadsheet made that I want to go through. And just briefly, I don't want to bore you guys too much with the ugliness of this spreadsheet. But I just pulled some data from the NASDAQ on Tesla stock, right? And pay attention to this column right here. I made a column called T7, trailing 7-day volume. The trailing 7-day volume, as per yesterday, inclusive of yesterday and 7 days prior, has been 1.23 billion shares. This entire week, you can see a huge, just so much elevated. Volume is crazy. That's the bottom line. Today, as we sit here, volume of the day is 150-ish million shares traded already. 148 million shares traded. Average volume, remember, is about 70 or 80. Now my Webull shows average volume of 93 million shares, and that's because the average is being pulled up. Duh. This just in. Insane volumes. So I'm looking at the volumes, and I tried ranking them here. And I was playing around with this before I went live. Essentially, if anyone knows a better Google Excel equation than this, let me know. But I chose rank. And I ranked up, I'll just redo it here so everyone can see. So essentially, I'm ranking up this entire data set of volume all the way to 2012 on Tesla, all the way to 2012 on Tesla. And I'm asking Google if it can rank this particular number that I have here. Okay, and then I think I throw in a 0 to say it's ascending. And I'm just going to drag this down. Let's just pull this up. Actually, no, hold on, this formula is off. Okay, there we go. So rank H2 in this data set, sort by ascending. And all the way down to 2012, today ranks 461st in terms of a rank. Maybe percentile is better, I'm not sure. But just an insane volume, right? And remember, this goes back 2,500 rows. Maybe I should delete up to 2016 or something and see how that changes the data. So let's delete up to mid 2016 and let's see how the data is affected from there. So you'll see volumes, it's ranking, maybe I'm doing the opposite way, but 694 million shares June of 2016. Actually, the rank here is, maybe I should throw in a 1 instead of a 0. If there's any, see, the thing is, I don't really use Google Sheets too much. I use Excel. But if anyone knows, but I have to add a dollar volume to lot. Oh, that's true. Hold on. Did I not? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Digital. So that still ranks 350th. And if I drag that down, hold on. But the problem is this formula is still giving me like the first ranked. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Hold on one sec. I think I know what to do. I need to fix my row. I need to fix my row here. Essentially, I want to find out how crazy is this volume that we're seeing here to 1,654. So let's see here. How crazy is this volume? And now I guess we can sort by rank, or I can just go scroll down and see where is the lowest rank. So like 75th. So we saw 2 billion. Who remembers this? February or August 2020. What happened in August 2020? Anyone remember? August 2020. Good times those days were. So other than really when we talk about the stock split, and maybe S&P inclusion, actually COVID crash as well counts in this. Barring those kind of general events, it's hard to find actually the first ranked day, the highest volume trailing 7 days, has actually been February 10th, 2020. So this is COVID crash. So just insane, really, to look at this volume that we're talking about here. Insanity. Anyways, let's go through what Elon let's go through what Elon has to say off the Twitter Spaces. What were your guys' thoughts on the Twitter Spaces? Let me know in the comments. Good, bad? Did you appreciate him going live and talking about what was happening? Let me know. Thank you, Tom, for the donation. Appreciate that, Tom Richardson, $2.99. Appreciate that. I'll keep that up here, and maybe I'll move my fat head instead. Okay, so let's talk about it. Glad he did it, says DRK. Yes. I think it took a lot of guts for Elon to come on. I've been asking for a Twitter Spaces on Tesla for a while. I just wish he could do it more often. I actually felt like we got more info off of that than an earnings call. I don't know. Okay, but if you haven't seen it already, and maybe I'll just move this here. So interest rates are crushing the stock market. Interest rates, and by the way, shout out to Jordan Giesecke, limiting factor, for the synopsis. Interest rates are crushing the car market. So Elon spent a little bit of time talking about how essentially now auto loans are at what, 8%, or how high are auto loans right now? Crazy high. But essentially he's saying that the car payments have tripled. And so essentially what you have are all car prices going up. So you have to discount them to kind of, bring them back to where they were before. He said Economics 101. He said demand is soft globally, even where political comments have had very little impact. We'll go into Tesla stock price versus Elon's statements here. Tesla will sell all vehicles, even at no profit, to grow more cars for robotaxi. So this one I had a little bit of contention with. So Elon said, look, we'll lower margins if we have to, but we need to keep volumes high. Not sure how you guys feel about that. If you guys like that idea, if you don't. But it is, to a degree, it's kind of like you're kind of screwed either way. Either you keep margins elevated and you sell less volume, or you push through volume and you just sacrifice margin during these times. So legacy auto will eat up their margins, give out discounts at dealerships, sell car, essentially bring down the cost of the car, bring down the cost of the interest rates through their financing arms. So essentially that is already happening. Elon said Twitter is easy compared to Tesla. I know some people did not like when he said this. Twitter is over the hump in terms of cognitive load for Elon. It was a first difficult month. Now it's getting easier. There's nothing more that Elon can do to improve the fundamentals of Tesla. Twitter responsibilities are not sinking Tesla. Elon won't. So this was the big one, in case you missed it. Elon will not sell any more stock for the next 2 years. He needed dry powder for the recession. Well, and by the way, Elon specifically said, I think, quote unquote, I just sound paraphrasing. He said, definitely not selling next year under no circumstances. So I know, by the way, let me know in the chat if you believe him or not when he says that. I know a lot of people that have their doubts about it. He said, I'm not selling under no circumstance in 2023 and probably also not in 2024. That's what he said. Now, whether you believe it or not, different story. Elon has not missed a single important Tesla meeting since being at Twitter. Twitter gets outsized attention. Elon expects much more economic drama. So this actually worries me a lot. I know a lot of people don't believe Elon when he talks about economics, but you have to wonder, when Elon talks about economics, who is in his ear telling him this stuff? I actually worry a little bit. And I've already been worrying about the Bank of Japan. You guys know I tweeted that out when the night it happened. I said, I wonder how much of a trickle-down effect this will have. But the Bank of Japan news, I think, has kind of been swept under the rug. And I just wonder how long, is that the start of a domino effect? I hope not. Cross my fingers. And we can talk about that later. Number 12, Elon expects companies making large, expensive products. Tesla will weather the best. So he said out of all legacy car companies, he says Tesla is by far positioned the best out of all those companies. He said refining capacity is needed for lithium, which is why Tesla is building a refinery in Corpus Christi. Expect meaningful volume in 2 years. The cathode factory in Austin is for nickel chemistries, expecting a reduction in cost battery for materials, layers, latency, and cost reductions. Tesla spending capital as fast as it possibly can without being wasteful. Close to picking a new factory location. So this was an interesting one. Did you guys think this just meant Mexico? That I feel like that was just Elon not wanting to confirm the rumors, but essentially just meaning Mexico. Maybe a different factory. I don't know. I mean, if you guys think so, maybe let me know. But I feel like it's Mexico. Elon says, no debt, 20 billion cash, great position for stormy waters. Tesla needs to see how stormy waters are and keep powder dry, open to doing a buyback, but that wouldn't be smart if the recession is worse than 2009. So Elon is really expecting next year to be worse than 2009. And that's kind of what, I guess worries me, is that if it is worse than 2009, how much more blowback do we have market-wide if that's the case? And I guess we can go back to historic charts and see where the S&P and the NASDAQ bottomed here in a second. So Elon says, if it's not a bad recession, the stock price is low, Elon would like to see a buyback. Remember, he's not chairman, so he just has a vote on the board. But look, folks, you guys already know how I feel about the buybacks. Buybacks are not going to fix the stock price. I said it 100 points ago. I mean, buybacks are not going to be the saving grace of the stock, and nor should it be as looked at as something like that. Buybacks are a good long-term strategy for corporate governance to lower float, especially when you talk about stock-based comp as an expense. Stock-based comp will continue to be a large expense, and so as we grow, let's say in employees, that's going to be negated by hopefully buybacks. If we could talk about offsetting stock-based comp, that's kind of the first step that we talk about. But buybacks are not, and yes, Sean, that's true. It will show confidence for the company, 100%. That's a good point. But it's not gonna, it's never gonna save the stock per se, right? At least that's not the expectation that I think anyone should have. Ural says, if it's not about, it's not about fixed stock price, but what's the best investment if with their cash after everything else is taken care of? Yeah. No, look, I'm on team buyback, by the way. You guys know. So I guess I'm not trying to play both sides of the fence here, but I'm just trying to be nuanced and saying I think Tesla should do buybacks eventually. They already said they're going to do it next year pretty much. But also buybacks are not going to save the stock price. Does that make sense? Buybacks help EPS. No, yes, they reduce the outstanding stock or share count. Yes. So in that effect, yes. But remember, it also depends on how much stock-based comp you have. Number 22, Tesla team is kicking ass and firing on all cylinders. The execution of the company is outstanding. I wouldn't really expect Elon to say anything other than that. By the way, on quarter 4, this is my expectations. If Tesla does 430, I think 430,000 is the current analyst street projection on Tesla earnings, right? If Tesla just meets expectations, I don't think that's enough. Sad to say. I think Tesla really needs to beat expectations by a handsome amount for the street to continue to look at Tesla and at least be able to reverse their narrative that they have going on with Elon being busy. Unfortunately, that's just what I feel like. I feel like if they do 430, people will nitpick on the earnings report. If they do, God forbid, let's say they do 410 or something, right? Let's say Tesla underperforms. They do 410. Man, I think we can all pull up the headlines of what we're going to see following if that happens. Tesla underperforms on demand concerns. Elon busy with Twitter, right? Demand, there's no demand anymore. So Tesla at 430 is kind of the bar that's set at the moment. Unless that's changed, someone let me know. Tesla really has to knock it out of the park this quarter. Tyler says meeting is enough if they have good earnings and good enough guidance. Well, Tesla will never give us guidance. Tesla will always say 50% growth long term. Some years less, some years more. That's what they're going to say. But look, this is what I think about the gap between. So let's say deliveries come out January 2nd, and they meet on that. I think that gap of 3-ish weeks between January 2nd and when earnings call happens, I think does open up a lot of questions if they just typically meet. Because look, I just think Tesla really has to, and this is not me trying to say this, but I just think Tesla really has to show everyone without a shadow of a doubt that there is no demand concerns. And this actually brings us into our China topic in a second here. Because of the discount, the $7,500 discount that Tesla extended. At least they didn't start extending that in the beginning of December. But it's obvious that a lot of people were saying, screw it. Why would I want to take delivery of my Model 3 with 2 weeks left until the new year when I can just wait and just get $7,500 off? remember they were already going to get 3750 off. Now they're going to get the full 7500, and that's off of any car too, right? So I don't think it's demand. I don't think demand concerns, but it does bring up questions. Yeah, you have to. I mean, if you're being intellectually honest, you have to say, okay, where's the demand? Is the demand just being pushed into next year with the IRA? And that's what I'm saying is if now they extended the $7,500 off and they're eating that out of their margin and they still don't meet analyst expectations for delivery, for delivery, I think it can get ugly. I'm just trying to set the bar here. Just trying to talk about risks, I guess, at this point. I don't know why volume is so high. We talked about this a little bit, but to tie a bow on it, my prediction for volume is I think a large institutional investor in Tesla has probably liquidated their position by the end of the year. I know tax loss harvesting might be a part of this, but it's just so high. Volume is nuts. Volume as we sit here right now is 150 million shares traded. I think some institutional investor in Tesla decided to pull the plug and say, look, we can't hold our nose and keep this stock, even though maybe we love the fundamentals, because of all this noise. That's my going theory. Happy to be proven wrong. Happy to have someone else say otherwise. That's just my going theory. For better or for worse. Digital says at this point they can export elsewhere. So that actually brings up, not to deviate too much from this, but the rest of the thread is basically about V11 and how it's hopefully coming out by the end of the year. And we talk about Tesla Energy. We could talk about that, but nothing really, let's say, car oriented for now. But this brings up our next news story of demand. So Tesla China analyst at Tesla Shanghai, you guys know he used to do a lot of leaks out of China, right? He tweeted out this morning, Tesla China will be sold more than, I'm trying to, here, I'll just try to fix it. Tesla China will sell more than 100,000 cars in December. If the message is correct, as usual. In parentheses, I was also surprised too. So some are taking this as, okay, does this mean wholesale? Does this mean export and local sales? He clarifies and he says, right here. So how much more than 100K? Is your confidence level high? First of all, 100,000 wholesale, obviously, 101 is 1.2 million run rate. And he says his confidence is 90% on this. Troy asks, how much of that is exports? Sorry, I don't know the export numbers. So essentially what he's saying here is that he thinks 100,000 local cars being sold in China. I don't know if that's possible. I think Troy actually linked. So Troy says, how is 100,000 possible? Are there discounted fleet sales to private dealerships? That's a very interesting theory. Troy also links his car insurance data. So he pulls it up and he says, look, in the first week of December, 11,000, then 12, then 13,000, then 10,000 and change. How can we end the month of December with over 100,000? That would be nuts. And in fact, Gary actually quote tweeted that, said that's a big China number if true. My December China sales plus exports is 80K. Sales plus exports. And he gave us his chart here to look through if you want. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Troy blocked me twice for covering him. Thanks for covering him. Oh, Tyler. Paul says COVID can make everything lumpy in China, but this seems impossible. I agree. I mean, from what we're hearing, China is going through a massive COVID wave right now. And maybe that has partly to do with the stock market. And by the way, I didn't cover this, but I will here for a second. Pull up Discord. Let's see if Discord pulls up fine here. Discord, general market. Thank you to Tardy Grade on our Discord for linking this bright and early in the morning. PCE came in. So PCE, remember, this is the inflation metric that the Fed likes to use. And inflation came in, PCE came in year over year just as expected. Remember, 5.5 was expected, forecasted. That's what the actual was. But month over month came a little bit hotter. So take that for what it's worth. And I'd have to dig into the core metrics of PCE and whatnot to get, but just generally know that's generally why the market's a little bit wacky today. It's pretty much flat on NASDAQ right now. I'll bring it back to the Tesla talks. Actually, hold on. PCE month over month actually came in cooler than expected. I must have missed another report then. 124.02 sitting on Tesla. Maybe says, I would think that he means the total number, but doesn't know how much of that is export. Possible, but I don't think he's ever, to my knowledge, really talked about exports that much. And in fact, yeah, actually he says this. Sorry, I don't know about the export numbers. But maybe I guess what you're saying is you're reading into that to say that he doesn't know how much of that is exports. Yeah, and even Forward Cap, who has a lot of cool, good Tesla tweets out on Twitter, says even factoring in exports, I don't see how this is possible. Less than 35K domestic insured. And WUA is confirming production slowdown beginning last week. So let's just assume it's wholesale. At wholesale levels, 100K in December would be massive. Still. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. Tyler says he never covers exports. So there we go. It's been a while since he's even tweeted. I feel like a lot of his sources might have got leaked. Thank you, Sanju. Appreciate that. Yes, bring the good juju if you're going to join in there. A YouTube membership at the investor level, $5 a month, or Patreon membership gets you in. Here he says, China has levers to pull. Shanghai could have pushed the sales to businesses. Well, you know what I'm interested to see is how much of the fleet sales happen to Avis or Hertz, these kind of companies that we know that have, actually not Avis. I don't think Avis has actually ordered any Teslas to my knowledge, but Hertz, for example, we know they've ordered a lot of Teslas. How much of that can you push through and get for the end of the year? Thank you, DRK. I appreciate that. How many likes do we have on the stream? I appreciate you guys tuning in on a Friday. I know it's quite ugly. I know Christmas is around the corner. I know a lot of people, even myself included, were kind of dreading talking more about Tesla after kind of the stock market week that it's been. But I appreciate us coming together and at least having a discussion, open, honest, and throwing ideas out together and trying to make sense of all this stuff that's happening. Because, I mean, this whole channel was created because I can come on and just talk about what's happening in kind of Tesla land with kind of just my friends here and see what's happening. And I appreciate you guys coming in. I'm going to put on the Christmas sweater, okay? And hopefully we rally. There's no promise here. I'll pull up Webull, 124.09 sitting on Tesla. I'm going to pull up the 1 minute chart. And we'll see where we end the week. Give me a sec. All right. Let's put this thing on. Oh, my toque here is showing. All right. Okay. I feel like an idiot. Why am I wearing a toque? Well, answer is quite obvious. First of all, it's cold. Second of all, you don't want to see my hair. Okay. All right. Lights on or lights off? Lights on or lights off on the sweater? I will abide by the results of this poll. Avis does not rent Teslas. Yes, thank you. I don't know why I said Avis. Justin says, was there any more news on talk on semis? Not on the Twitter talk to my knowledge, but I think PepsiCo has confirmed they have 30 semis delivered. Okay. I am abiding by the results on this poll. Not one person has set off. You guys can't see the lights. Can you guys see that? Hold on. Let me turn off my... Okay, hold on. Oh, how faint is that? Hold on. You just see Rudolph. My mic's covering half of Rudolph's head. All right. Okay. I appreciate you guys having some fun with me too. Okay, hold on. Okay, Rudolph is faintly going. Let's see how the stock market performs. The NASDAQ is currently flat on the day, up 7 basis points, if you even want to call that up. The Tesla is down 90, about 1% on the day, down to 124.13 sitting on Tesla. Remember, weekly averages, ugly, but the weekly average at 300 is kind of our next kind of moving target at 120-ish bucks, or actually 116 here. 121 is the low of that candle. So 106, by the time we hit next week, maybe it's higher. Yeah, I know. It's not the lights, it's the lighting. I know. Have Have you seen Chicken Genius's price prediction? I think you're referring to the one this morning. I have a confession to make. I actually deleted Twitter 2 or 3 days ago off my phone. And then I downloaded it yesterday again, begrudgingly tweeted something out, saw Elon's Twitter spaces, listening to it. But I deleted it a couple of days ago. But I found myself on my Safari app trying to find out what the I'm back. Okay. My fat thumb pretty much hit the back button. Okay, I'm back. Oh, you hit a YouTube video on this morning. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting the battery with the lights on this thing. This kind of look like nipple lights. Okay. Maybe I should point my camera down. Whatever. You guys don't care about the. Let me turn this thing off. Let me save my batteries. I spent like $20 on these batteries. Okay. I'm gonna have to wear it to a holiday party to justify this price. Okay. So he tweeted it out though, right? So let me just go on his Twitter. Chicken Genius. So he tweeted out Tesla good news and bad news. Good news, Elon said he's promised to stop selling. Bad, if you listen to the whole conversation, as per my thesis for months, demand destruction. Tesla will prioritize unit sales over margins. Tesla will be priced as a value company over growth. If so, $60. Cash is king. So I think the way to read this is, okay, $60. So at $60, throw in the chat, what's EPS next year? Let's say, just throw in the chat, what's your prediction on EPS next year? Because we can just pull a multiple through and implicitly see. Paul says, odd logic, focusing on growth will command a value multiple. I think, so here's the thing. You can talk about revenue growth. I think what he would say, I think what Ken would say, not to put words in his mouth, but I think what he would say is revenue growth is fine, but if EPS doesn't grow, he's saying it's a value stock. That's what he would say. Because if Elon is saying that Tesla will lower prices to prioritize unit sales, yes, revenue will probably grow, but the margins will shrink. And if margins shrink, could you see a case where EPS is high next year or low next year? Okay, some good guesses of EPS next year in the chat. That was quick. $7, 7, 8, 6, hoping 6, 9, 8, 7, 8. Okay, so the way to look at this is if he says, let's say some of you guys are saying 4, 8. Okay, so let's say 60. Oh, let's say $6. At $6 EPS, implicitly, Ken is saying a 10 multiple. A 10 multiple. And the peg on that, I know he doesn't care about peg, but let's say a peg on that so a 10 PE with EPS growth of 40%, peg is 0.25. You know what would be interesting to see? Let's look at Apple's PE history, and let's see how low has it been in the past. Is Apple a good historic company for us to look at? So in 2010, believe it or not, Apple's PE was actually in 2011, Apple's PE. Oh, hold on, I gotta move my camera right here to see it. Apple's PE in 2011 was as low as 12 or 11.74, their PE ratio. So they were earning about $1 EPS, and their PE was 11.74. Let me just change this. Can I change this to annual? And actually, it went as low as 9.83 in 2011, Apple's PE. So they were earning in the fourth quarter, let's just do fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter of 2011, Apple earned $1.25. So annualize that out. Let's just keep it really simple and let's say $5. Annualizing that out for $5, assuming no growth, Apple's PE, and Apple is trading at split adjusted $12.33. Crazy. Now, you could look at that and say, okay, obviously does Tesla have the chance of going that low? In this market, I guess nothing's impossible. But I really wish I could overlay EPS growth on this. Okay, actually, Paul has it for me. Paul says 65% growth as well in 2011. Well, there you go. I guess that's where his theory is coming from, as low as a 10. Now, I know a lot of people were just going to say, well, that was a buying opportunity if you wanted to buy into Apple long term. And I think Ken would say, that's not my point. My point is this is how low. I'm kind of having a debate with myself as if he's here. That's nuts. Paul says, sorry, that was revenue growth. 83% EPS growth. Is that fiscal year 2011, Paul, versus 2012 or 2010 versus 2011? Let me know. Or that quarter, year over year on the quarter. John says, I think Tesla will be irrationally low if the economy truly does break like a 08 recession. Harry says, we can't take what Elon said literal. He was talking about worst case scenarios. Fair enough. If Tesla lowers prices, how could demand not grow since it comes with credit and short wait times? I think Tesla will find demand. Tesla prices are already way higher than they were end of 2020. So Tesla has room on the downside. Gigacastings and 4680s are hopefully going to lower costs as we move in the next year or two anyways. Yeah. Fair enough. Look, I've never trashed on anyone for their hypothesis on a stock. I'm happy to have debates. I'm happy to be wrong all the time. So now his going thesis is a 10 PE, forward PE. Actually, this is trailing, right? Can I find out? Let me do forward PE. Let's see here. So in 2015, Apple was trading at a forward PE of 10.56. Kind of crazy, actually. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Elon might be right. Index fund investors are pulling out and putting money into bank accounts with 3% interest. I actually think you can get a lot higher than 3% right now on a lot of GICs. No, I don't think so, Brett. No, I don't think so. The market cap at that level would still be 200-ish billion. It's quite a lot, right? Remember, Twitter was at 50 whatever billion. So we did get some good news on the Twitter side. Per Johan, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Elon should start 2023 with Tesla Day. Talk about everything going on. Show products old and coming. A guided tour of Austin. What do you say? Look, I think you're asking the wrong guy, because I'm on board with that, my friend. But here's the thing. I'm no Elon. So I think that's a great idea, though. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know if that's ever going to happen. Now, the Giga Mexico news will be interesting. Oh, 123.45 sitting on Tesla. Great. I think the Giga Mexico news will be interesting. There's some rumors that Tesla will start building Sprinter vans out of that factory. I think Tesla Sprinter vans would be massive. That'd be huge. T-bills are 4%. There you go. Let's see here. And remember Adam Jonas's bear case of $10 before all splits. That is $150 split adjusted. Actually, hold on. 10 times 5, 50 times by 3, 150. Yes, you're right. Correct. Just had to do the math on that. That's crazy, right? Yeah, that's just nuts. Brent says, I'm concerned, but I think this is the bottom for Tesla. Now, this show, I don't want to just want to play back and forth devil's advocate all the time. But the issue I have right now is macro. It continues to be macro. Forget about Tesla for a second, right? Because, we talk about year-to-date stats all the time. You guys know I've been pulling up year-to-date stats all year. And I've been trying to say, well, look, Tesla's outperforming this stock and that stock year to date. And you guys, people that don't like that, say, look, yes, year to date is arbitrary. And I get that. It actually is, technically speaking. But I wanted to add in, hold on one second. Can I add in other stocks compared to? Okay, perfect. So let's compare Tesla to the NASDAQ on the year. Year to date, NASDAQ is down 33%. Tesla is now down 70%. I can officially say, as of this week, Tesla is now down more than its 2 beta. It's gone from being relatively strong all year to meeting expectations to now below expectations. It is now weaker than it should be versus its beta. That could be tax loss harvesting. That could be margin calls. That could be Elon selling. I mean, when the CEO sells $45 billion or whatever worth of stock, is it 45? What's the total for the year on Elon sales? Is it 45 billion? You're bound to have some weakness there. So, oh, Francois, thank you. I'm such an idiot. Yes, you're right. Why am I multiplying? I knew the 100. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Thank you. It's one of those weeks, isn't it? Thank you, Francois. Purchase says, I hate to say it, but this is just the start. The crap is just beginning. Macro is king. We're subject to it. Honestly. Discreet says, keep taking juju to kill my stress. Indeed. Where's the juju? Oh, my vitamins are over there. Damn. Paul says macroeconomics headline versus macro secular trends to EVs and green grids. Also plausible that demand destruction disproportionately impacts ICE and EV market shares, and EV market share accelerates. Now that's probably correct, I think the fruits of that don't happen immediately, right? These are, I think, revisionist history things we can look to X amount of years later. But when we're through the brunt of it, I think the market's not going to recognize that. Brant says, I'm afraid things are going to get a lot worse. Let's do a poll. I'm going to do a poll. Poll. Where is it? Okay, start a poll. Are things going to get worse in the stock market? This is not Tesla oriented as much as it is macro. I am interested to hear your thoughts on this. Remember, what do I know? Michael says Elon sold near to 40 billion. 40 billion. You know, when we talk about Tesla raising capital, when it did a $5 billion raise or $10 billion raise, we saw how much of an effect it had on the stock market. $40 billion worth of shares. It had Elon not sold this year, I don't think we are where we are right now on the stock price. I mean, maybe you disagree with that. Let me know if you disagree with that in the chat. Do you disagree with that? You know, I think if Elon hadn't sold $40 billion worth, I think we're probably, you know, if NASDAQ's down 33%, I think we're probably in the 45% range. That's my guess. Just market economics, right? Because look, Elon wasn't selling through block trades, through dark pools. He was selling on the open market from what I could tell. So I agree. No, do a poll. Maybe I'll do a poll on that after. You were right, per Johan says. Supply and demand, he put 60 million shares to the market, correct? And the thing is open market too, right? Like not block trades to institutions who could then, I guess, open market it, or institutions that wanted to buy a Tesla off of him straight to the open market. So Michael says Elon agreed Elon underestimates his own impact. I think Elon knows about his impact though. Perhaps no one wanted to buy, says Bahadir. That's fair, I guess. Maybe no institution wanted to buy, but you know what? Given a discount off of market, I mean, the way that this works usually, to my knowledge, is this. Let's say I'm Elon. I approach Morgan Stanley and I say, look, I have X billion dollars worth of Tesla to sell. Tesla's currently sitting at 123.02. I'll give you a 5% discount off of this and I'll sell you my entire block. Deal. And they go, no, 5% is too little. We want 6%. Elon goes, fine. And he sells it. That's usually the extent of the combo. And then Morgan Stanley essentially has some alpha. And then they can sell it off to the open market later. should they want to, right? Because when Tesla does share, when Tesla raises capital, for example, they did a couple years ago, they would go to these institutional traders and then they would issue new shares into the market, sell in the open market during trading hours on behalf. The Fed is to blame as well. And this is kind of the thing, right, Randy, is like the Fed is not going to stop. And I think they've already overdone it. And I get it. You want to have inflation really bottled up. You do not want inflation to get away from us. I get it. But they're looking at lagging data. They're not annualizing current data. It's just nuts. I think the Fed, Gurdeep says Fed U-turn will change everything. I will not hold my breath for that at this point. I really think they're in it to kill everything. Everyone says, oh, if the stock market drops another 20%, the Fed will U-turn. The Fed does not care about the stock market. They care about inflation and employment. Employment numbers are already inflated. Pardon the pun. Employment numbers have already come through really ugly. Because they're showing really strong employment and job numbers, but if you dig down the revisions, and if you dig down with what's part-time versus full-time, it's those numbers are not pretty. In fact, some people are saying that the employment numbers are like very sketch. And so employment's not as strong as I think they're led to believe. Inflation's not as bad as they're led to believe. I do not know when they're going to stop. Okay, I'm going to invite someone on stage. If you guys want to come on stage, feel free to. I threw a link here in the chat. If you have camera, good internet connection, want to say something to the Juju gang, feel free to come on. I've pinned it here, StreamYard link. Maybe we'll do a couple of listener questions, comments. If you guys want to come on, say something. Yes, Roy says, I just got my Christmas update. I'm so stoked about this. Okay, so let me pull this up. Let me do some good news, shall we? So Tesla's offering a 30-day trial of enhanced autopilot worldwide for the holidays. I am so stoked to try this, folks. Maybe I should do a couple of videos on this or something, but I'm very excited to try enhanced autopilot. As you guys know, I don't have an FSD package on my Model 3. So navigate on autopilot, I'll get for 30 days. Auto lane change, auto park, summon, and smart summon. Super excited. I kind of want to drive on the highway just to use navigate on autopilot. The problem is I cannot drive outside. There is snow everywhere. Everywhere there's snow. But I hope I can before the 30 days is up. Santa Moda's fun. Is that when you stock down 5 times or whatever, and then and you can pull up you can pull that up. We got Bren here joining us. Bren, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Good, Bren.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, coming through perfect.
Hey, I'm gonna make it. I'll make it real quick. I really appreciate everything that you do for us average investors.
Thanks, man.
I think you're super fair. I think you're unbiased, and I think you objectively look at it. So, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Bren.
My question is, I seem to be in the minority of Tesla shareholders, but whether you agree or disagree with Elon's political views, I feel like him being super political, whether you agree or disagree with him, I feel like could be hurting some of that sentiment because Tesla's such a momentum-driven stock. Typically, early on, a lot of people who were into electric vehicles and what Elon stood for, I think, lean more left. And I think, we all agree he leans a little bit more right, which is fine. That's his opinion. But I just worry that it hurts demand. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
I think it does, in the short term, affect some marginal demand level. The thing is, Tesla has had this demand backlog for so long where it's like, I've always thought, okay, even if it has some sort of a short-term demand hit, it's still at the margins where it's like Tesla has a demand backlog to kind of put on. But you know what? With regards to the stock price, I think the underlying thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about is that forget about the car buyers for a second. Let's just talk about Tesla stock holders. If you're an institution, let's say you're BlackRock or, insert institutional investor in Tesla, and you are politically leaning left and by a fault, and you do not care and you do not want any part of this, maybe you've been holding Tesla for years and you say, look, I like Tesla fundamentals. Generally, I think Elon's a little bit crazy, but you know what? Every founder like that does wild stuff, like what Elon's done, is a little bit crazy. That's fine. I'll hold my nose and own Tesla stock. But I wonder what the volume that we're seeing this week, if we didn't just see institutional, maybe multiple institutional investors that just can't take the political talk anymore. And they're like, we cannot have our institution associated with this stock. And forget about the demand for a second. I think maybe Tesla, that's why we're seeing this type of volume, even maybe.
Yeah, we've had record volume. I follow Rob Maurer too. He's a really good Tesla guy. We've had record volume, and there hasn't been any new Form 4s filed recently that would cover. So you're right. I think there's large institutions, and then the demand concern and all of that. So yeah, I totally get it. I'm holding my shares personally. I'm still up on my shares. I'm holding. I'm adding to my position. I wish that Tesla would push the $35,000 model. And then the last thing I was going to say was, the last time Tesla bounced off of an earnings call was when Zach Kirkhorn, who's a true professional, did the earnings call. And Elon says he was done with earnings calls. And when Kirkhorn managed that earnings call, I think it was Q3 of this past year, it was just a master class. It was like a protege of Tim Cook. And I just feel like when Elon got back on the earnings call and the analysts are asking what you're doing next year, the year after that, and Elon's talking about 2030, I think Elon's great. I think he's an asset to the company, but I almost wonder, is it time for Elon to be chief engineer and maybe have Zach Kirkhorn take over and maybe steer the ship like Tim Cook has?
Can you hear, Brad? Can you hear me there now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I think I unplugged my mic. Sorry. Do you mean do you mean Zach stepping in as Tesla CEO, or just for earnings calls, how Tim Cook did?
Just for earnings calls.
Okay, just for earnings calls, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason why I don't think it's going to happen is because when the stock has taken such a hit in the last, let's say, couple months, for Elon to step away on that earnings call, he would probably think that's him shying away from facing the fire a little bit. So I don't think he would, because he would just be blamed for running away from this bad performance in the stock price. But in the long term, let's say excluding all of the stock price, do I think that should happen? Yeah, probably. I mean, Wall Street really liked when Zach was leading it. I think it was very scripted. To be fair, I think what it actually is, I think the algos that are run on listening, because there's algos that are running for hedge funds or institutional investors that transcribe everything and trade based on it. That's how, if Zach says something really fast, how does it get to, how do you see the effect in the stock price so fast? Is, a lot of this is just AI related, right? So I think when you had a script and you were reading it out and, it's very perfect, it's just like perfect translation. When Elon's talking, we know he talks more like how an average person plus or minus would talk, tangentially, randomly bringing stuff up, laughing, with, all the fun stuff. So should Zach run it eventually? I think that's probably going to happen, but I don't see it happening anytime soon, considering the stock price just being down so much, I think.
Yeah. No, I appreciate all your input. Thanks. And I'll let somebody else get on here.
Thanks,
really
Brandon.
cool that you do this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for watching, man.
See ya.
Bye. We got Bahadir next. Oh yes, we got our closing price guessing game going on in the chat. And that's what I love about our community. You guys start doing it without me. This is perfect. Throw your Tesla closing price guess in the chat. Remember, Price is Right rules. You have to be at or under to win the virtual Juju prize. I'm a little bit late, but Bahadir, I'll start with your guess before you get into your question or comment, just so we don't run out of time.
Let's say 124 sharp.
Okay. I like that. That's very bullish. 120. Oh, actually, 70 cents nowadays is bullish. I'm going to say 123 sharp. How's it going, my friend?
Good. I'm a bit sick, but still surviving through all this time.
Everyone that I know has gotten sick pretty much in the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think with this whole shebang going on with the Tesla and the rest of the economy, I was just thinking, maybe like one part that we are missing is not only that there is so many bad news about what's going on around Tesla, but we are also missing good news. Like except like a semi delivery event, Like
Hmm.
we didn't really hear what are the next big steps that Tesla is going to take in the future, in the near future. And I mean, if you listen Elon lately, that we are just okay, there will be something that will be announced sometime, right? Or I am going to write the part 3 at some time. It's more like
Right.
it feels like everything is delayed. Like Cybertruck is going to be there, so it
Mm,
creates itself so much uncertainty. And although I am not a so much fan lately with Ross Gerber and Gary Black, let's say,
right.
about their board of director, although I
Right.
initially liked the idea, I still think like this whole PR thing is a big step move forward in terms of the
Hmm.
overall maturity of Tesla. Like these things,
Interesting.
I think in terms of investor relations, like institutional relations, like I think that is like something maybe for the next 10, 20 years, it should be taught. So what do you think about it?
So, what would you say that they could put out a statement on? Like, let's say if Tesla had a PR department today. By the way, I'm generally pro PR as well. Like, I think Tesla should have some sort of some sort of department to combat news stories, let's say, that are incorrect. But let's say Tesla had a PR team today. What do you think they should or could put out that would help general sentiment even?
Maybe a lot of like a demand questions, right? I mean,
Okay.
Elon likes to leave it a bit like a guessing. Everybody is guessing what's going on, and I don't think any company really wants to publish these numbers, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, even a vote of confidence. I think like confidence is an important part. But of course, like I mean, we don't expect full transparency, but some transparency is, I think, very healthy. And Elon most of the time suggests that transparency is good. Like so, it's like a, hey, we are seeing some slow on demand, so this is how we are going to approach the problem. Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But it's also like this public company, like it's not in their requirements, but in
Hmm.
this whole big scheme of things. And
Hmm.
it's so important, I think, like this, what the other guy before me, sorry, I forgot his name, that
Brent, yeah.
tell like there's so much like momentum driven things happen so far in Tesla, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anything that is not creating any momentum, then it becomes this like stalemate situation of Tesla. And the China recession and all this. Sorry, I kind of like
Yeah.
go a bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
like uh, like some buffering, like the cool, calm voice of I think Zach or like somebody else talking with people in their same level. I think that's also what happens with the analysts versus
Hmm.
Elon talks like he is going all tangents, and then analysts like, okay, I have no idea what he's talking about.
I think barring Tesla coming out and saying like, look, this is our demand backlog by country, and this is how many orders we have sitting there to yet to be fulfilled. We have no demand concerns. I think like barring that, I'm not sure really what could help. I think the new products one is interesting. I do agree that Tesla, like I think Tesla's roadmap of products, they should going to 2023, we should really start to hear more about that. And I think the concern there is like they don't want to talk about new products when they still have the Roadster not out, when they just still have the Cybertruck not out. Like it would just go over deaf ears if they were talk about the compact model now. Everyone would be like, come on, compact model, talk about the Cybertruck. Let's get that delivered first, right? So
Yeah,
you would have cynics kind of saying that. I think as soon as we start seeing Cybertruck production start, deliveries begin of Cybertrucks, I think the quarter after that, I think, is when we start to hear about the compact. That's my going guess. I
yeah,
think they do not. And by the way, for the most part, I agree. I don't think they should talk about it. Put their money where their mouth is for now, and focus on the Cybertruck. Get that out because that is what needs to be done. And then after that, let's talk about the next product.
yeah.
But Tesla Twitter, someone says in comments, has been coming out or has been posting more stuff. I agree. Tesla, their Twitter account has been more active for sure. Um, but you know what? Like, I guess that's kind of a reserve for earnings calls. That's why by the way, I loved Elon Spaces yesterday. I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
listened to that, but
I
Elon
did.
Spaces, it was just great. It was great to get inside.
I felt like a sauna after an ice bath, cold shower. Like it felt like, oh, this is really nice. It's almost like a therapy session with Elon. Like a lot of people asking, and Elon is responding nicely. I think that's such a nice environment for everyone to listen in and then see, because that also reflects confidence, right? I mean,
Mm,
Elon is like taking a step back. He can do things still,
yeah,
and let the company runs itself. And I was
yeah.
going to say one thing about what you were like talking about. I think because of the recession and all the things going on, like
Yeah.
I think Tesla wants to focus on the efficiency and execution of whatever is in their hand as
Mm-hmm.
good as possible rather than trying to jump into these other ships, right?
Mm.
Because everything is already complicated, right? Building new factories is
Mm-hmm.
complicated, new energy product that's also expanding. There is
Mm-hmm.
there are like so many things that you can reach out. They just want to focus and get one thing right and move on to the, or like three things right, of course, and then move on to the
Move on.
other spaces.
Yeah. Well, the energy was interesting. I'm not sure if you saw it, but on Twitter, I kept saying I was off Twitter, but somehow I kept finding myself clicking on links in our Discord. But there was someone that leaked the Tesla margins for the mega pack,
Yeah,
and it was like 60% gross
yeah,
margins was their pricing formula on the back. I'm not sure if that's verified or that's 100% true. And you talk about Tesla wanting to expand that next year, that could be a huge boost to the bottom line. And energy is not, I don't bake in energy, to be honest, because I just don't know
yeah.
the unit economics of it yet. Um, so, I mean, that could be a massive surprise as well.
Yeah, I was just checking the Tesla jobs library, and then I saw they are trying to hire like 20 something people on Tesla Energy just in the Netherlands, right? So it's just
Wow.
one country, right? It's different positions, technicians, and all these stuff. But I mean, there is, I think, demand. And one thing that I want to get more view is that, how the Megapacks is like a first initial installation, right? And how their recurring revenue is going to be like, right? Because you just set up, for example, the South Australia project.
Right.
It's like right now, I think 1,100 plus places, and they're going to scale up to 50,000 people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
each day, Tesla has the opportunity to make X amount of money, and it may be some crazy numbers, maybe very small numbers. We don't know,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of opportunities there. We just
Well,
don't know anything here.
don't know anything. And the multiple I think you attract with energy could be higher given the TAM. Like energy is just massive, right? Car business, yeah, I mean 70, 80 million units a year worldwide. Robotaxis get you different, but energy is also another thing that opens up a whole new market that
Yeah,
I think institutional investors today just don't look at. For
yeah.
better or for worse, I mean 90+% of Tesla's revenue is autos, so like if you're trying to just keep it to what it is, I guess, but that's kind of what we talk about as retail investors, I guess. So,
Yeah, energy
yeah.
is like robo taxis right now, right?
Right.
Because you, as a Powerwall owner, can actually make money. That's like
Right.
such a good business model to have without
Yeah.
that much of a complication, let's say, for the individual or huge
Yeah.
technology like FSD to be written.
You it's almost like you have to, like, if you're already paying, everyone is always going to have to pay for energy, right? That's the bottom line. So if you can come in and tell someone you will save money, it's just there's no reason why they wouldn't buy it. But buy that. If you could say, "Oh yeah, my car is cheaper than your car," you'll still get people that want to buy the more expensive car. Like some people just don't care. But energy is energy. It's such a commodity, right? It's just you either have energy or you don't. You don't care if it's from coal per se. You don't care if it's from hydro. At the end of the day, if it's cold and minus 30 out, you want energy and you need energy. You don't care where it comes from if you're in a dire situation. So energy being such a commodity, all Tesla has to do is make the fundamental unit economics at a household level or business level work. And then at that point, the marketing does itself because one person will tell someone else that they're saving money and it just goes on from there. But scalability is an issue. I mean, it's harder to build these, or to install these, but eventually with new home sales and new buildings that are being put up, I mean, developers are going to want to put in the best, cheapest stuff for the long haul. So yeah.
Yeah, we recently, I think, heard in the States, right? There's a new developer released the houses to the buyers, which already came in with the Tesla solar and the Powerwall. So that's a great win if they can also increase these number of projects. It's a slow moving target, as I mentioned like last week, but I think for the next X amount of years, that's going to be very crucial.
Hmm.
And I think the best thing is Tesla is very good at software and AI. And this whole thing with the virtual power plant is
Right.
very software heavy, right?
Yeah.
Good software, good AI is going to also take them the lead, hopefully.
Hmm.
In the, I don't know
Absolutely.
the whole domain more, but I mean, they have a good entry to the market through the consumers.
Right.
So perhaps they can also go into the other markets, but we will see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Badir. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Have a nice day,
feel
man.
better.
Yes, thanks.
Take care. Shout out to you guys coming on. Let me just pull this up. Let's go back. So 123.15 was our closing price on Tesla for the day. For the day, our winner is long supporter of the channel, Hillary at 123.12. Shout out to you, Hillary. 3 cents off. That's pretty close. Now, I'm just hoping if you can also give us some insight as to what Tesla stock will be doing next week, and that would be great as well. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. By the way, thank you for the super chat, Grace Hoppers Crunch, Juju Gang member. Care to comment on this gem from Barron's? Banks unhappily hold a lot of Twitter debt. Actually, I think you tagged me this on Twitter, but I couldn't find exactly where that was. If you want to throw in the chat where I can find that comment from. But Barron saying banks unhappily hold a lot of Twitter debt is interesting. Could that be possible why we're seeing a lot of volume? By the way, volume on the day is 165 million shares traded, folks. 165 million shares traded. Just nuts. Absolutely crazy. I actually don't know when this type of volume is going to stop. Actually, hold on. So I'm trying to find out on the Barron's quote, but I just don't know where to find that from. But if you know where I can find that, I'll happily comment on it. My general comment from that small quote would be, yeah, I mean, if you're holding Twitter debt and you look at what's happening with Twitter as a company, just from the outside perspective, not knowing Elon and his methodology, I mean, objectively, you could probably say, look, like, this is just crazy. I cannot believe we financed this and now we're holding notes on this thing. So, yeah. Got that from TDA News. Okay. I mean, look, Twitter is objectively a mess right now. The bet Elon is making, he can fix it in the next 6 months. But I think the layoffs really make it a lot more cash, a lot less cash flow negative. So there's that. Matthew says, Yash, one thing the others might not think about. If they do sell/make less cars, that's more batteries for mega packs with better margins. That's an interesting theory, right? Because at the end of the day, all Tesla has to do is make the batteries. If they can make the battery and have the battery capacity, they can find uses for it in the market. The problem, though, is like, if you just look at that, objectively speaking, you go, less cars, more energy. Net, I guess you could say that's fine. But knowing Wall Street, all they're going to look at is the auto side and re-rate this thing down. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Oh, but what was our results on the vote, by the way? Our results on the vote. Are things going to get worse in the stock market? 80% say yes. 20% say no. So though I agree, like, energy 100% makes sense, right? Like, I love it, especially if the gross margins are that large. I just don't know how much of that is going to get baked into auto side of the business. And if it doesn't, and it gets baked on the other side, then they have to do some sort of rejigging of their models. And maybe we see some short-term non-understanding of that. I'm even speaking for myself. Like, I don't understand Tesla's energy unit economics just yet. I would like to. Eventually, I hope that Tesla can break down more of the numbers for us. But as it stands, the auto business, I really get, I think, enough for an idiot like me to get. But the energy side, I know 60% gross margins on the mega pack, but of course, we'd have to see that broken down better. Wall Street, Michael says, Wall Street would crush stock price if energy had repeated profitable quarters. Oh, you know what? There's also a video here I want to show from, have you guys seen this video yet? Canaccord Genuity's, hold on one second. Let me turn off studio mode. Canaccord Genuity, George Giannakis on Tesla. When we look over the next 6 to 12 months, he says, and over the next multiple of years, it's actually pretty positive for Tesla. They have an incredibly strong balance sheet to weather a recession. Have you guys seen this video yet? Shall we watch this video now? Let's watch this video.
Joining us now to discuss the path ahead for Tesla is George Giannarakis, Canaccord Genuity Managing Director. Good to see you here this morning. Now, you have more of a positive stance on Tesla than I think the market is thinking about right now. You say there are green shoots over the next 6 to 12 months. Take us through them.
Sure. So yeah, the market doesn't seem to be very positive on Tesla currently, and it's understandable. I mean, we listened to a conversation.
By the way, it takes a lot of guts for someone on the street to come out during the type of crash that Tesla's had in the month and a half since Twitter, and to come on and talk about the fundamentals and how they like it.
Conversation that Elon Musk had yesterday on Twitter Spaces, and it sounds, decidedly negative in terms of the near term. There's a lot of uncertainty around Q4 deliveries. There's a lot of uncertainty around 2023 deliveries. There's a lot of uncertainty around the margin trajectory of the firm and whether or not they decide to cut prices to spur volumes. But when we look over the next 6 to 12 months and over the next multiple years, whether the depth of the recession is actually pretty positive for Tesla. It puts a lot of the competitors on the back foot. They have an incredibly strong balance sheet to weather it. And out the other side, they're sustained to increase their leadership in EVs, which we think are on the cusp of really accelerating the penetration of the overall auto market. So look, the near term is incredibly uncertain. It's being reflected in the stock, but sometimes stocks tend to bottom before the fundamentals do. So when we look out over the long term, there's a lot of long-term earnings power here. The company has lots of growth vectors, whether it's EVs, semis, robotics, and we are very, very positive in the long term of the firm.
George, does Elon Musk need to find somebody else to run this thing?
Tesla or Twitter? Which one?
Yeah,
both at this point.
Both.
Oh, yikes.
Look,
During the chat, Twitter, new CEO, yes or no? Thoughts? Yes or no? Should Elon find a new Twitter CEO in the next week? That's kind of the timeline I want to look at.
I've been covering the stock for a long time, and we've been through a lot with Mr. Musk. Give us a lot of controversial data, whether it's smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan podcast, allegations.
Did we really hit the Joe Rogan weed bingo card there? That's hilarious. What a rap! Like, been so long, I totally forgot about that.
Of fraud. Most of these things have been proven to be false. And without his leadership, I don't think Tesla, I have a very high degree of conviction that Tesla wouldn't be here. And with regards to Twitter, we'll wait.
Look at this timeline. Musk agrees to buy Twitter October 4th. Man, the stock has taken a huge hit since then. November 4th, Twitter cuts 50% of staff. Musk warns of possible bankruptcy. November 10th, Musk gives employees work ultimatum. Journalist Twitter. How does this have a card? Journalist Twitter account suspended for doxing Elon. And then December 20th, Musk says he will step down as CEO once the replacement is found.
You can see he's already.
By the way, when Elon put that poll, and I see almost everyone in the chat saying yes, he needs to find a new CEO. I think maybe one or two saying no. But when Elon put that poll out and said, should I step down as CEO and find someone else? And yes, won. Like, for him to be like, oh, I'm gonna continue to try to find one, but until then, I'm gonna continue to be CEO. Like, at that point, I mean, to me, I looked at the poll and was like, I feel like Elon should at that point have already found someone if he's gonna put out that poll, and to lead us to believe that he's not going to be Twitter CEO anymore. But
pledged that he'll step down as CEO and run the software group there. But I am a big fan of his, and I hope that he stays on Tesla for as long as he can.
You also call Tesla a sustainability behemoth. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the largest. I'm a sustainability analyst here at Canaccord Genuity, and this is the largest company in our universe. They've done more to push the world towards a sustainable energy future than any company I cover and any other company in the world. They have both leverage to generation through their solar business, through electric transport, obviously through their EVs, and through energy storage with the batteries that they put on the grid. They do a lot of things, and they cover almost every vector of the sustainability universe. So if someone's looking to invest in improving the world and moving and hopefully improving climate change, this is the number one vehicle through which you can do that.
But don't check their ESG rating, in case you're wondering.
And there's a lot of earnings power. There's good cash flow long term. There's good cash flow currently. We'll wait to see what 2023 brings. So This is for us, it's the way. It's the most liquid. It's the largest cap way to invest in improving the world and moving away from climate change.
Are there any other plays, though, George, that are, where Tesla was 5 years ago? In terms, maybe not in terms of potential scope, but like Tesla, we all know about, right? What's the next thing that is going to be that sustainability leader?
So we cover several stocks in the universe, and the sustainability universe broadly. We like a lot of them. Whether it's a company called Fluence that participates specifically in energy storage, which is putting batteries on the grid. Big fans of their long-term trajectory and near-term trajectory. Frankly, we call it their fundamentals anti-fragile, meaning that as the supply of batteries loosens, which have been very tight over the last 12 to 24 months, it actually helps them quite a bit because they're in the business of putting batteries on the grid. So their demand should remain pretty robust, given that there's a lot of positive implications from the Inflation Reduction Act. But the supply of batteries loosening actually helps the trajectory of the firm in terms of their profitability. We also like small companies like Wallbox, which make chargers for EVs. Small cap, but a very good product and big growth over the next several years. To other companies like Amoresco, which is a local company here in Boston, where I'm from, and they participate in several of the sustainable technologies out there, whether it's solar, renewable natural gas, energy storage, which we just talked about. It's sort of a way to invest in the broader sustainability landscape, as opposed to just whether it's EVs or just battery storage.
Interesting insight here. George Giannakis, Canaccord Genuity Managing Director. Good to see you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to you guys.
It's look, it's not a zero-sum game. I think a lot of people like to think this entire industry, it's if Chevy sells more EVs, Tesla's selling less, and if this energy company comes up, Tesla Energy suffers. Like, this is not a zero-sum game. I'm really looking decades into the future and trying to say, like, this entire industry is growing and should grow. And so I invite competition. The $7,500 tax credit up until March kind of implies to everyone that's good for EV adoption as a whole. This entire re-rating of the stock market has been ugly. I guess we'll see where we go into the end of the year, or into next year. Pretty much is the end of the year at this point. Got a week left here. And by the way, I'm not expecting huge volume next week. Again, we ended the day with 165 million shares traded on Tesla. Just nuts. Crazy. At this point, I think it's fair to say at least a large institutional investor has been selling for the last couple of weeks, besides Elon as well. Because remember, if we had this type of drawdown that we've had with 100 million shares traded, different. But today we got 165 million shares traded again, and it seems like to me we're gonna find out with 13Fs by middle of February. I think that there's going to be one big institutional investor that just threw it in, and maybe this has to do with the Bank of Japan. Does SoftBank still own any Tesla? I don't think they do, but there might be a connection there with the Bank of Japan and their upper limit going up and money getting more expensive, and then maybe there is some indirect investment in Tesla through there. Ron Barron, I don't think it's Ron Barron. Don't think so. I'd be very surprised. I mean, if Ron Barron sold his Tesla, that would not bode well, because Ron has been a long-standing supporter of Tesla and Elon and their mission. So could be some interesting big holders as well. Yeah, I mean, look, BlackRock, maybe, I know Susquehanna, Citadel, these are market makers, so maybe there's some rebalance. Like, if it was 120 million shares, like, maybe I even say rebalancing. But the volume that we're seeing in a week where volume is supposed to be light, remember, it's Christmas coming up this weekend, folks. Volume should be light this week, and especially next week. I don't think Kimball has that many shares, to be honest, Nick, even. I guess we'll find out. But middle of February is kind of the deadline to find out there. And by the way, in case you were wondering, the last time we really saw volume like this, look at the volume elevated levels here in the last week or so. You really have to go back to, actually, let me keep it all in one graph if I can. You really have to go back to, yes, October of 2021, when we first rose from 260 all the way to $414. Remember that November of 2021? That feels like a year ago. Or Actually, it is a year ago. That feels like 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah. So that was really the last time that we saw massive volume. But even those days capped out at volume at 188, 187 million. Just a couple of days worth. So, and no, I don't think it's going to be 4 and 4s. And where Tesla is in blackout period anyway. So I really don't think we're going to be getting any insight on that. Jay Lizard, thank you for the donation, my friend. $2 super sticker. Appreciate you and your comments. Kevin says if someone is dumping their shares and someone else is loading up. Yes and no. I mean, look, if the way the markets work essentially is you're going to have, of course, a buyer for every seller, but it's where you get hid between the bid and the ask, no pun intended, that you see the stock price move, right? So if you have a large seller, at a certain point, buyers get exhausted. And when buyers get exhausted, you have to continue to hit that bid. Zoom. As you keep hitting that bid, the bid gets lower and lower and lower, and thus you have stock price weakness, right? Because you have to convince buyers to step up at these levels to buy because they have to feel like they're getting a discount, at least in the short term, with algo trading. And that's why I think we've seen the weakness here. Will the ownership shift to more than 55% retail owners? I have a hard time seeing that. I think retail investorship, yes, might be up in dollar value, in dollar volume, but I look at Tesla as such a mega cap company. I just don't think retailers have any effect really on the stock. I really don't think so. I think this is all institutional money, all big money, all algo driven as well. Could Elon shares have been margin called by Twitter bankers? Would they've had to disclose? Given Elon's comments yesterday on him not having to sell any more shares, I don't think that's a possibility anymore. Maybe his last sale had to do with that respect, but I don't think so anymore, given his comments about him not having to sell no matter what. Thank you for the 50 Swedish krona, my friend, per Johan. CNBC said Elon cannot control when to sell. The banks control this. What do you say? I'd have to re-listen to the segment and get the context. But let's say Elon has debt on his Twitter deal and it's backed by collateral on Tesla shares. Well, if Tesla shares fall at a certain point, then that collateral is no good anymore, right? So you have margin requirements on that. And so the bankers having to control that, I guess it's an interesting theory, because if it is backed by that, then, and if bankers own that as collateral, could they be dumping in the market? And it's kind of a pseudo way that Elon is selling in the market. Maybe. Interesting theory. Interesting theory. Maybe, yeah. And I guess if it is bankers, then I guess we don't really get 13Fs from them, really. We need to rename the channel to hit that ask. Honestly, digital. Any chance Leo Kogwan sold given the volume? He's been pretty quiet on Twitter. I don't know, Brian. I think he tweeted a couple of days ago that he is just hanging out and he still believes in Tesla and Elon, but perhaps, I mean, he has every right to change his mind. Don't know. Very possible. I'm not going to say it's, sorry, I should not say it's possible, but I don't think it's probable. At least that's my hunch of it. Not sure. Then Elon can't say he won't sell in 2 years. True, but I guess the theory with the bankers is an interesting one. If it's backed by collateral on the bank, and we're seeing the volume here being liquidation of banks and then converting of his debt. I'm gonna have to, whatever. Honestly, you guys know how I feel about the Twitter news. And the last piece of Twitter news I will leave you with for the weekend is the good news of Steve Davis, CEO of the Boring Company and former SpaceX engineer, is rumored to be the top internal candidate for the Twitter CEO role. Apparently, Steve's driving a lot of the cost-cutting decisions at Twitter headquarters for Elon. So I'm going to leave you guys on that news. There is some hope of us potentially finding some sort of a new CEO for Twitter, for better or for worse. Maybe you disagree. I don't know. But I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday this weekend, a wonderful Christmas. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow, Christmas on Sunday. Remember, I say this every Friday, but this Friday seems more fitting. Put away your phones, technology. Don't look at the stock market news. Nothing's going to change on the weekend, really. And remember, prioritize what's important in life: health, family first over wealth, and anything else, as usual. hashtag bag holders quotes is kind of how I feel like on weeks like this week, but I say it every week. So it is what it is. Festivus is Festivus for the rest of us. Happy Festivus to everyone. Merry early Christmas Eve. Merry early Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy everything. Happy New Year. But you know what? Not Happy New Year yet, because I will see you guys next week. Before that, next week should be a quiet week for volume. If next week we continue to see the outstanding volume that we're seeing this week, concerning, right? So I guess we'll see. Maybe more tax loss harvesting. I don't know. All right, guys, much love. Thank you, everyone, for the nice comments. I hope everyone stays happy, healthy this weekend. Hit subscribe on your way out. Join the Juju Gang if you want. Patreon membership or channel membership over $5 gets you into our Discord. Bring the good juju in there. Have a wonderful holiday season. Take care, everyone. Yash signing off. Peace.